Well, it's time for some business news, and for that I'm joined in studio by Yuka Royer. Yuka, you're starting with Spotify. It's responded to a recent controversy over COVID misinformation.
That's right. Well, Spotify, the music streaming company, made public its policies, its content policies, which have not been changed, and said that it would add a content advisory to any podcast discussing COVID-19. Now, the announcement was made after Spotify came under fire over podcasts by Joe Rogan, who has discouraged vaccination in young people and promoted use of an anti-parasitic drug to treat COVID. Calls to drop him from the platform came from some medical professionals as well as celebrities. Last week, musician Neil Young pulled his songs from Spotify. Some other musicians and podcasters followed suit. Prince Harry and Meghan also flagged concerns over misinformation on Spotify, though they didn't leave the platform. Now, in a blog post, Chief Executive Daniel Ek admitted that the company hadn't been transparent about its content policies and that it has an obligation to do more to provide balance and access to widely accepted information from the medical and scientific communities.
And podcast host Joe Rogan, he's also apologised.
Well, he posted a 10-minute video on Instagram saying he's sorry for the artist's departures in protest to his podcast and welcomed Spotify's decision to add a content advisory. He insisted, though, that he was not trying to promote misinformation or spark controversy and that he was only seeking to have conversations with people with what he described as differing opinions. Rogan has a €90 million multi-year exclusive deal with Spotify, and so far there's no sign the platform intends to remove any of his episodes. Let's listen to a clip of that Instagram video.
I'm very sorry that they feel that way. I most certainly don't want that. I'm a Neil Young fan. I've always been a Neil Young fan. I'll tell you a story at the end of this about that. If there's anything that I've done that I could do better is have more experts with differing opinions right after I have the controversial ones. I would most certainly be open to doing that. And I would like to talk to some people that have differing opinions on those podcasts in the future.
Moving on to another major story. Further signs of a slowdown in the Chinese economy, Yuka.
In the manufacturing sector, at least, factory activities in January weakened as a resurgence of COVID-19 cases sparked tight lockdowns within China and weighed on demand globally. The official Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI, for January stood at 50.1, only just above the mark that separates growth from contraction. While the official national figures stayed in growth territory, it contrasted with a private but closely watched survey that came out earlier in the day. The Caixin Market PMI fell to 49.1, that's actually in negative territory, its lowest level since February of 2020 at the onset of the pandemic. Chinese officials are brushing aside concerns of an economic downturn, though.
Regardless of some disturbances of the epidemic in some areas in January, the development of the entire economy has remained stable, which means that China's economic operations have a relatively good start in 2022.
And China, is the zero COVID policy, is that weighing on the Chinese economy?
It is one of the challenges facing the world's number 2 economy. The recent resurgence of COVID cases led to some fresh lockdowns, including in the manufacturing hub of Xi'an, that forced many auto and chip makers to shut operations. China rebounded strongly in 2021 after a sharp pandemic-induced slump, but started losing steam last summer. The collapse of the heavily indebted real estate sector, as well as the zero COVID policy, are among the near-term economic headwinds cited in a recent report by the International Monetary Fund. Now, last week, the IMF downgraded its forecast for Chinese growth this year by as much as 0.8 percentage points to 4.8%. This as tight restrictions on travel and businesses impacted domestic consumption. China, of course, is celebrating the Lunar New Year this week, but events have been restrained, and that's dragging on personal spending during the important holiday season.
It's heading into Year of the Tiger, I believe, the New Year.
It is, yeah.
Taking place on Tuesday. Yuka Royer, thanks so much for that business update.